and our story today is from the land of gold, ancient Egypt, the myth of Isis and Osiris. Our story begins like any mythology in its beginning, with primitive chaos from which comes a powerful entity, which is Ra, or Atum, the master of the gods and creator of all creatures. He began to create the Holy Ennead by creating the god Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the god of wisdom. From them comes the second generation of gods, Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. In the vision of the universe among the ancient Egyptians, we see that the god Geb and Nut were sentenced to eternal separation so that humans would live among them and the god Shu would separate them. But before they separated, the third and final generation came from them in the Holy Ennead, and they are the heroes of today's story. Isis, Osiris, Set, and Nephthys. There are many other gods, but these are the most important. Adam left them to rule the earth and humans, and was content with watching and being the sun disk. Set was jealous of his brother Osiris because he was beloved by the people of Egypt, and the people had chosen him to rule them and become king over all of Egypt. One day, Set ordered pie, creating a coffin with specific sizes of pure gold and studded with precious stones. There were celebrations in the palace of Osiris. 75 gods were present, and 1,000 people were in the palace courtyard. 6 entered the council, and behind him were 10 of the most powerful servants, carrying the golden coffin. All the gods looked at the coffin in astonishment at its beauty and said, "In honor of our host, brother Osiris, whoever sleeps in the coffin and is of his size will take it." All the gods came forward to sleep in it. Abbot, except Osiris, did not move from his place. He tried all the gods, and he was not in the size of anyone. Set looked at Osiris and said, "There is nothing left but you, my brother, ruler of Egypt." And by doing so, Osiris went forward and slept in the coffin, and he was according to his size, and as if it had been made for him. Set immediately ordered the servants to close the coffin on his brother and pour liquid iron on him. In the midst of the astonishment and shock of the attendees, he ordered me to take the coffin and throw it into the Nile River. He looked at the attendees and pulled his sword from his side, and a loud voice said to me, so much so that the entire population of Egypt heard it, "I am the ruler of Egypt. I am the embodiment of Atum on earth. I am the master of all creatures." He looked at the humans. They all knelt in silence. He turned to the gods present and pointed his sword at them. He said, "Is there anyone who objects?" The gods knelt in reverence and silence. Isis knew what had happened and fled from the palace. She decided to search for her husband's body on the banks of the Nile. After a search that lasted for weeks, and some say months, she found the coffin on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. But Set knew that she was planning something dangerous. He watched her in silence until she found the coffin. He ordered his soldiers to take it from her and cut her dead brother's body into 47 pieces, the same number of Egypt's governorates at that time. He ordered each piece to be hidden in a governorate so that it would be impossible for Isis to find him. But the impossible is not an option for Isis. This time, the search did not last for months, but years. Isis collected the pieces of her husband's body and went with them to Anubis, the god of embalming. She asked him to help him collect the body of Osiris and embalm it in exchange for her teaching him the language of humans so that he could understand them. Anubis agreed and gathered. The body parts were mummified, and Isis sat for 6 days next to the dead body of Osiris, praying and calling on Ra to bring him back to life. On the 7th day, the miracle happened. Ra responded to her and restored life to the dead body of Osiris, but on one condition: he would return for only 24 hours so that she could bear a child from him who would be the heir to the throne. After his death, Osiris would rule the land of the dead in the second life. Days passed and Isis gave birth to a child, Horus, born miraculously by Ra. She left him with the people in northern Egypt until he grew up and became strong. Days passed and Set's oppression of his people increased, and Horus grew stronger until the promised day came, and the people told Horus the whole story and that he was the heir to the throne of Egypt. Horus went to the south and challenged his uncle for power. Set accepted the challenge and said to him, "It is not because you are a strong opponent, but I want to send you to your father in the other world, and my name is engraved on your chest." The two wrestled, and the fight was even. The power is so great that in some ancient texts the fighting continued for 80 years, during which Set plucked out the eye of Horus. Ra saw that he should not keep watching forever, and that this fighting would not end except with the destruction of the world and the death of all humans. Ra intervened to resolve the conflict with himself, and gathered the Holy Ennead Council and all the gods, and looked at the conditions of humans, and Ra decided that the rule was the right of Horus. Humans were happy to hear the happy news of the end of Set's unjust rule, but Set refused and decided to disobey and declare war on all the gods. Ra became very angry at anyone who dared to disobey his orders. He cursed Set and his army. "Cursed, you sand dog, roaming the earth, and you will not find peace." He banished them to the western desert where there is no life. He repaired the eye of Horus and made him the ruler of all of Egypt with his blessing.